I'll tell you right now, nothing prepares you for the sound of a child crying like the world's ending, especially when that kid's clinging to you like you're the only solid thing left in a world gone. Liquid. That's how I met Lucas, a blind 7-year-old, standing in the pouring rain at the corner of 42nd and Lexington, lost, scared, sobbing, "I want my daddy." And before you judge, thinking I'm some hero with a cape under my hoodie, let me be honest, half the time, I don't even know what the right thing is. But that night, the city was howling and nobody else stopped. So I did. His little hand was wrapped around the broken half of a white cane, the other piece trampled and gone somewhere behind us. The kid's designer coat was soaked, heavy, tugging at him like it wanted to pull him down with the rain. He couldn't see a thing. Blind from birth, I'd find out later, but what crushed me most was how nobody seemed to care. The city roared past, umbrellas bumping him, voices in a dozen languages, but it was like he was invisible. That's New York sometimes, you know what I mean? Everyone's moving, nobody looks down. A woman nearly knocked him off the curb, but I managed to grab him just in time. One of those moments where you move first, think later. I crouched down, made sure he could feel my hand, so he'd know where I was. "Hey, you're safe. I got you," I said, my voice probably steadier than I felt. He said his name, Lucas Hartley, and let me tell you, that last name carries weight in this city. Billionaire kind of weight, the sort of family that never really has to worry about anything, except, apparently, losing a child in a thunderstorm. Most people in my shoes would have called the cops, maybe hoped for a reward, maybe just left the whole thing alone because who wants trouble? But I'd been living on the streets for almost a year at that point, and something about the way Lucas held on, shaking, desperate, made the decision for me. I shrugged off my ratty windbreaker, wrapped it around his shoulders, told him I'd be his eyes. That's when I started talking, describing everything we passed. Bookstores, the smell of coffee, the sound of taxis, trying to paint the world for him as we headed uptown. My shoes were falling apart, my backpack was all I owned, and I didn't have a clue how far we'd have to go. But that's not what mattered. What mattered was the kid holding on. Let me back up a sec. This didn't start with a rainstorm. Hours earlier, Lucas was begging his dad to let him go to the spring festival in Central Park. His mom was gone. Cancer, 2 years back, and his dad, Christopher, did what dads do when they're scared. Tried to keep him safe, locked away in a penthouse, only venturing out under heavy guard. Lucas wanted to be normal for once, go to the park with the other kids, and after a fight, his dad gave in. The nanny, Maria, had to keep a hand on him at all times, GPS tracker, medical bracelet, the works. Lucas lived for these little freedoms, the feel of sun on his face, music in the park, cotton candy melting on his tongue. He was soaking it in, pulling Maria toward the music when the parade started and chaos hit. Somebody jostled between them. Lucas's hand slipped. Suddenly, he was alone. Everything he'd learned about staying calm went out the window. Panic scrambles a kid's brain. And if your whole world's made of sounds and touch and suddenly both are gone, what do? He tried to move toward Maria's voice, but got swept further away, his phone crushed, bracelet gone, just a blind kid in a storm of strangers. Meanwhile, I was outside the festival, cardboard sign in hand, homeless. Anything helps. I'd been through the system since I was 5, 15 homes, nobody who really wanted to keep me. When I aged out, they gave me a trash bag for my stuff and wished me luck. So yeah, I was hungry, cold, and tired. But you learn not to feel sorry for yourself. What hit me that day was a kid's scream. Real fear, not a tantrum, and suddenly, I was running. I found Lucas on that corner, moments from stepping into traffic, shivering, clutching the useless cane. I scooped him up as a taxi barreled past, so close the wind nearly knocked us both down. He kept saying, "I want my daddy," and I kept saying, "You're safe, I've got you." Even though, truth is, I wasn't sure how safe anything was. He told me about his home, a tall building, a fountain out front, a British doorman named Gerald. I'd been around this city enough to know that meant the Upper East Side, a good long walk in a bad storm. I asked him to climb on my back, promised I'd get him home, and for the next hour, I was his eyes and his shield against the world. The walk was brutal, rain like bullets, my teeth chattering, Lucas getting quieter and quieter. "We're almost there, buddy," I'd say, describing everything. inventing stories to keep him calm. Finally, the building appeared, 50 stories of glass and marble. Gerald, the doorman, nearly hit the panic button seeing us, a drenched black teenager carrying the lost son of a billionaire. But Lucas called his name, explained what happened, and everything shifted. Suddenly we were inside, Lucas safe, Gerald on the phone with his dad. Christopher Hartley came flying out of the elevator, suit ruined, eyes wild. He dropped to his knees, pulled Lucas close, tears in relief. While he held his son, I tried to disappear. But Lucas wouldn't let go. You can't leave. You're my friend now. For a second, I felt like maybe I belonged. That's when the police showed up, detectives with questions, suspicion in their eyes. Maybe he was in on it, one muttered, looking right at me. But Lucas fought for me, told them everything, how I'd saved him, how I could have left him or handed him to cops but didn't. Christopher's voice turned cold as steel. He told them I was a hero, not a suspect, and threatened lawsuits if they didn't back off. I still tried to leave, but Lucas asked, "You don't have a home?" That question hung in the air. Christopher saw it all then. The holes in my shoes, my whole life in a backpack. He invited me upstairs, told me to get warm, eat something. At first, I resisted. But Lucas wouldn't hear it. Stay, just until the rain stops. Please. The penthouse was beautiful, but what struck me most were the braille labels on everything, the paths mapped out for Lucas. A home made to be safe for him. Maria was crying, apologizing, Christopher ready to fire her, but Lucas made him forgive her. While I showered and put on warm clothes, Christopher was busy calling. Every foster home I'd been through. By the time I came out, he knew my whole story. He offered me a job, helped Lucas be brave, not just safe, room and board, plus college classes at night. I wanted to say no, my pride almost did, but it wasn't charity. It's an investment in Lucas, in his future. You'd be earning every penny. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A flood had hit the shelter where I sometimes stayed. 7 kids were missing. I said I had to go help them, and Christopher didn't hesitate. He sent his security team, called in favors, put those kids up in a hotel for the week. That's when I knew this wasn't just about one good deed. It was about who you choose to be for others, even when you don't have much yourself. That night, after Lucas fell asleep, Christopher told me he'd grown up in foster care too. That luck and one caring person changed his life. Staff leaves at 5. Family stays, he said. Those words stuck. I took the job, not for the money or even the college classes, but because Lucas needed a brother and I needed a family, even if I hadn't realized it. 6 months later, Lucas and I walked through Central Park. His new cane was bright blue, not white, because blind doesn't mean boring. He rode on my shoulders, laughing, calling me his brother, and Christopher watched us, the adoption papers in his briefcase. A year later, at my high school graduation, Lucas gave a speech. He said I taught him how to see in the dark. But the truth is, he saved me too. So here's my question for you. If you saw someone in need, would you risk everything to help? Or would you be one of the people who walked past, figuring someone else would step in? Drop your answer in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, and what you'd do if it were your kid lost in the storm. Because family's not just blood, it's who carries you when you can't see the way home. And sometimes, the most heroic thing you can do is let yourself be saved, too.